This is a Rough Tiger production.
And you, and you, and you, and you were there. Some of it wasn't very nice, but most of it was beautiful.
America.
Hello. We are BACK, and we're both kind of yawning this evening, but we're here.
Yeah, sorry about that, folks. Hi, Bryan. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome to Dream Idiots, episode 77. Each week we get together and tell each other stories and drag you along for the ride.
Yes, indeed.
Sometimes kicking, always screaming. And Bryan, we've got some information for the folks about where they can find us. They can find us in all kinds of places.
Yes, indeed.
I know where they can find us, but do you? This is a test for you, Bryan, because I don't think you know where they can find us.
Well, if you're listening to us now, you're on which, one of a jillion different podcast platforms. I'm not sure which one you're on, but if you can, shoot us a review and give us 5 stars and a review, that'd be great. You can also check out dreamidiots.com, at Dream Idiots on Facebook, at Dream Idiots on Instagram. You could drop us a line at dreamidiots.podcast@gmail.com. If you have any suggestions or thoughts or complaints, if you have any complaints, I'll give you Morris's direct email. And yeah, that's about it. But thanks for sharing and liking and doing all those good things for us. We appreciate it.
Yes, and we've heard from some folks already on last week's episode, because we were recording last week's episode the day that it dropped. So we're actually back a week in time regarding our some of our famous urban legends. So thanks for the feedback on that one. And again, thanks for listening, and thanks for chiming in. And we are still on the lookout for songs that have been turned into movies. So if you know of any that you recall from your childhood,
Oh, that's right.
listening on the maybe on the old AM dial, as it fades out as you cross under bridges, because that's what AM does. Keep in mind that we're still looking for songs that were turned into movies of the theatrical or made for TV kind. Please send those in to us as well.
Yes, that was our homework assignment from 2 weeks ago.
I think so. Yeah. Sounds right.
Yeah. So yeah. Any song, any genre that was then then turned into a movie or TV show. Yeah, that'd be great.
Sounds good. Bryan, it's an odd numbered episode, 77. So you get to go first.
All right. Well, I'm going to return the favor back to you, and we're gonna dive back into Ultima Verba. Only I'm the one coming up with the last words this time around.
Stole it, you bastard! You stole it from
me. You damn dirty bastard. So we have done enough of these episodes now. This is, as you just said, this is number 77. We've done a lot of these, and when I'm doing research or Googling things and just kind of doom scrolling through things, on an almost daily basis, I go, wow, that'd be a good story. Wait, have we done that one? And so I hear, I've come across a curse word that I think's funny, and then I save it off, and then I think, my memory's not good enough, and we've done enough now where I mean, for all I know, I've repeated a couple things. I feel confident that if I don't remember that I've repeated something, neither do you. So some of these I know are, as I was doing research into this, I know were last words that you used or we talked about in general. Some of them, like, I couldn't quite remember. Some of these might be repeats. Some of these are different versions of what you told me was the last word. So either you were fucking with me last time around, or I don't know what. So anyway, we'll dive into it, and you can remind me which ones we may have discussed before and where things went awry. The first couple are ones I think you mentioned when you were talking about last words.
Okay, I think this is like our fourth go round on last words. So.
Yeah, third or fourth.
All right. Okay. Go ahead.
Take it away. My favorite one from one of yours was Graham Chapman saying, "Sorry, I said fuck."
Right.
This other site says that Graham Chapman's last word was saying hello to his adopted son. Does he have an adopted son? I was stunned to find a different last word.
I don't know.
We'd already talked about. Anyway, Graham Chapman either said hello or he said, sorry, I said fuck.
Or either way, that'd be a good last word for a parrot. Either
Right.
one. So which is appropriate too for Graham Chapman.
So this one, famous, prominent, well-known serial killer of the 20th century. Kiss my ass, you'll never find the rest.
Oh, that's John Wayne Gacy.
Did we do him or not?
I believe we did, yeah.
Okay.
Except I think I described him as well-known piece of shit. I think is how I described him.
Yeah.
So we did
also
John
true.
Wayne Gacy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next one was a baseball player who his last words were, "How'd the Mets do today?"
Oh, was that oh, I just did him. Wasn't it the dude from
Mo Berg.
yeah, Mo Berg. Yeah, it was Mo Berg. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry,
So
I totally blanked on his name.
So yeah, okay. So we did all three of those. Okay. So this one I don't think we did. A musician, 20th century, is being prepped for surgery. A nurse asked this musician, "Is there anything you can't take?" And the reply was, "Yeah, country music."
Jazz musician Buddy Rich.
You're correct.
Drummer specifically. Yeah.
Drummer, yes.
Yes. I had considered that one. I don't know if I ever used it, but I had considered using that one. That's a great one. Yeah. Yeah. Because it's perfectly fits his personality. He's just being wheeled away to get cut on. Yeah.
This one in 1954, another musician, R&B singer, lesser known, during a break in the concert was playing with a pistol. His last words were, "I'll show you that it won't shoot," whereupon he shot himself accidentally and died.
That occurred in Houston, Texas.
Wow.
I don't think we used him. That was the late great Johnny Ace.
You are correct.
Is the guy's name. Yeah, that's a great collection too. The Johnny Ace Memorial album is a great little collection of R&B songs. Yeah. That was a rough one. I don't think I used that one. Yeah.
So that I mean that's almost as bad as "watch this" as last words, but it's damn close. So this one, prominent professor, physicist, died in 1988. His last words were, "This dying is boring."
Dying is boring. Did I use that? I know that sounds familiar.
No, but I think most of the rest of these, if I recall, you didn't use.
Dying is boring. Man, that sure sounds familiar, but I can't for the life of me place it right now.
That's Richard Feynman.
Oh yeah, okay.
Personal favorite of mine. If you ever, he wrote several books, all of which are really, really good. Richard Feynman is cool as shit. So read his stuff. I can't believe he's been dead that long. I thought he was much more recent than that.
I had his rookie card.
Yeah, he was a Mets.
Yeah, of course.
With Mo Berg. This one I'd be stunned if you knew this one, but I'll give you a chance. The quote is, "I am about to, or I am going to die." Either expression is used.
Oh man.
Very, very obscure. It was just kind of too funny. And
somebody pedantic, somebody very much concerned with the English language, probably a writer. I wish I could stun you with this, Bryan, but I can't.
It's not a name I even knew. French grammarian, not even a writer, someone who's obsessed with grammar. Not even, Dominique Bouhours, Bouhours, died in 1702, but still a great quote.
That is a great quote.
Yeah. So this one is I just like.
And someone corrected him and said, en français, s'il vous plaît. Sorry, go ahead.
So this one was I won't even try to make you guess this one. This comes from Reddit, username Gilly Billy. He had a great uncle who flew for the Navy in World War II, then later on flew commercial jets for 30 years. and he was dying. He was in the hospital. His last words, very appropriately, quote, "Looks like a good night to fly," unquote. Okay. kind of cool, maybe a little bit creepy, but kind of cool. So next one, you won't guess the name, but you might be able to figure out the context of when this would have been said. The quote is, "Vancouver, Vancouver, this is it. This is," and then it cuts out.
Vancouver, Vancouver, this is it.
This is, and then it's gone.
Is it maybe a space launch of some type? The Apollo, I don't know. One of the ones where
Yeah, I mean that kind of makes sense, but this is actually, the guy's name is David A. Johnston. This was his last radio transmission because he was watching and filming Mount St. Helens. But he was too close.
Yeah.
So sorry, David. I mean, but still kind of interesting. I'm not making fun. So this one, 19th century. This is a little bit of a famous one. 19th century British. The quote is, "Either that wallpaper goes or I do," unquote.
Oscar Wilde is the one I've always heard that attributed to.
Yeah, that's good.
Wasn't he Irish? I think he was Irish.
Was he?
I think so.
I'm
Anyway.
sure. This one, 20th century comedian, quote, "Why now? I don't want to die. Why?" There's a long pause as if looking at someone. Then he says, "Oh, okay."
Why now? Why? 20th century comedian.
Why now? I don't want to die. Why? Okay.
Groucho Marx?
Sam Kinison.
Oh. He was driving too, wasn't he? Didn't he die in a car wreck out in the Las Vegas desert? I think he did.
Did he? I mean, this must have been like in the hospital. I mean, maybe he didn't die in impact. He was taken in
on site. I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, I didn't get the full context.
Of course, he was screaming it. So one way or the other, he was screaming it.
Okay, yeah. Sorry. Yeah, he was really popular, but I didn't get him really. Did not find him funny. Go ahead.
I don't remember much about him except he was in Back to School with Rodney Dangerfield.
Yeah, and the endless screaming, and prior to being a comedian, he was a minister of some sort too. Like, that makes no sense. But yeah, Christianity, rarely does. Next one, again, 19th century. The quote is, "Go on, get out. Last words are for fools who have not yet said enough," unquote.
Man, that sounds like one of the great actresses. No, 19th century.
19th. Died in 1883. Male.
Oh,
Europe.
Oh, no. That was oh God, it's on the tip of my tongue. It was because I considered using this one. It was it was Sir Shits-a-Lot. I have no idea who it was. Who was it?
You're right. Sir Shits-a-Lot. You're spot on. Karl Marx. So this one, after playing 18 holes of golf, this 20th century celebrity said, "Well, that was a great game of golf, fellers.
Let's have a Coke." That was Bing Crosby.
That was Bing Crosby. Terrible human being. By all accounts.
When you beat your children, use a bag of sweet Valencia oranges.
Right.
It's an old Family Guy bit there.
Yes. Piece of shit. So 18th century, I guess, very early 19th century Europe. The quote is, "Friends applaud. The comedy is finished," unquote.
The comedy is finished. God damn it, Bryan. I know this one too. The comedy is finished. 18th century.
Born 1770, died 1827. So most of his career would have been early 19th century, probably. You know. Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah, I don't
Dun, dun,
know.
dun, dun.
Is it Beethoven? It's not Beethoven, is it?
It is.
Oh,
Yep. So going to the UK, 20th century, early 21st century, UK citizen. He had a 2-word Ultima Verba. All he said was capitalism, downfall.
P. Orridge. I don't know. I don't know who it was.
That's Christopher Hitchens.
Oh, okay.
Capitalism, downfall. And he is, of course, the author of, I think, my favorite quote of all time, which I think I told you before.
Hang on. Take my advice, pull down your pants and slide on the ice. Is that your favorite?
That's good. That's not his though, I don't think.
Oh, okay. No, that's okay.
No, he's the one that said the 4 things in life that are the most overrated are lobster, champagne, anal sex, and picnics. It's a good line. So Edward Abbey. There's an Edward Abbey, and there's also an Edward Albee, isn't there?
There's Albee the playwright, and then there's Edward Abbey the environmentalist, right?
So Edward Abbey, he was asked. I mean, apparently he was introverted and a bit cantankerous, and he was asked if he had any last words or what he wanted to have as his epitaph, and he said no comment. And that's what's on his tombstone.
I did not know that.
No comment.
I think is he the one that spent the I think he's the one that I want to say he spent the winter in Zion, what would become Zion National Park.
Oh, really?
And, yeah, he was the winter caretaker for a portion of the park, and these guys showed up and started surveying something, and they said, "What?" He said, "What are you doing here?" And he says, "Oh, we're surveying for the new. We're putting in a paved road here." And he said, "Oh, okay, great." And as soon as they left, he walked right behind them, pulled up all their stakes, and used it for firewood. Yeah, because he was like,
yeah, fuck you.
If you want to make people appreciate your parks, make it a little difficult to get to, so they have to like work for it. It was yeah, Monkey Wrench Gang. That was him. So
okay,
yeah, Edward Abbey, yeah.
Yeah,
and then Edward Albee wrote. What did he write? Well, what did he write? Okay. All right. What's next, Bryan?
This one also comes from Reddit. Reddit user Jacob22. He works in healthcare. This is kind of sad, but I don't know. It resonated with me or something, even though I hate the word resonate. Healthcare worker on a geriatric ward. Patient called for him and put his ear next to her mouth. And her last words to this nurse or doctor was, "I just wanted to say goodbye to someone."
Oh, man.
Like, that's a gut wrenching. Like, oh my God.
Oh.
Yep. A French nun, Louise Marie Therese, died 1732. She was near death, but let one rip. And her last words were, quote, "A woman who can fart is not dead." Yeah, you're not wrong.
Okay.
Next one. Capital punishment means those without the capital get the punishment.
Trotsky?
No, this is not. This guy is named John Arthur Spankelink. Died in 1979. You wouldn't have known that, but he was the first man who was executed in Florida after it became legal again.
Oh, okay.
Capital punishment
Yeah.
means those without the capital get the punishment.
That's a good quote.
Yeah.
Who's afraid of Virginia Woolf? That was Edward Albee. Sorry.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yep. No worries. So 20th century actor. I should never have switched from scotch to martinis.
Oh. Man, that sounds really familiar. Did I use that one? Is that well, it's got to be one of the old drunky drunks. Richard Burton or what's his name?
Close.
Oh no, the Welsh dude. Am I getting warm? Is it Robert Shaw?
Welsh?
No,
Robert
it's
Shaw,
not
no.
Robert Shaw. Was he Welsh? Who is it?
Bogart.
Oh,
Although Bogart has other last words quoted somewhere else, where he's talking to Lauren Bacall about coming back soon or something. Like, okay, well, maybe those are his last words. Who knows?
how long have you had that gap between your teeth? And then he died.
Are you Katharine Hepburn? Who are you? 20th century politician. I'm bored with it all.
American politician or no?
UK.
UK. 20th century politician. I'm bored of it all. Churchill?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
1965, Winston Churchill. Next one, 20th century, again, another comedian. Quote, I've said all that I have to say, unquote.
20th century comedian.
Mhm.
I've said all I have to say. Carlin?
No, Bill Hicks.
Oh. There was a funny dude. There
Yeah.
was a really funny dude.
And thank God he's not alive to witness the world we're in today, huh?
He would stroke out and die on the spot. I mean, he would.
Right.
Yeah, it would kill him right on the spot.
Yep.
Or it would make him stronger. I can't.
One of the two.
Yeah.
But all of his stuff is still. Those of you listening, if you've never listened to Bill Hicks stuff, listen to it, and you'll be blown away by how incredibly prescient and insane it is that the man's been dead for over 30 years, almost exactly 30 years. So again, these are two 20th century comedians who both passed away, who both of them had their last words were allegedly, "Don't leave me alone."
I know I did this one because it's Belushi and Farley. Yeah,
Yeah.
Belushi and Farley. Yeah, because they died of the same thing.
Right, and they're always compared to each other. So this one, fly buzzing me, is probably not someone you will get, but still interesting. The quote is, "Why should I talk to you? I've just been talking to your boss."
Well, he or she was talking to a priest.
Right. Yeah, it's a playwright.
I don't know, but it sounds very
Wilson Meisner, a priest had just asked him, "I'm sure you want to talk to me," and Wilson said, "Why should I talk to you? I've just been talking to your boss."
It's a good one. That's
Yep.
a good one.
So this person's girlfriend was bitching him out because he wanted her to fix him breakfast and she didn't want to do it. And he said to her, "If you don't like it, you can fuck off." And he was dead, within hours later.
Well, it's not His Most Holiness the Dalai Lama. I know that. I don't know.
Keith Moon.
Ooh.
Keith
Wow.
Moon. Keith Moon. Yep.
Kind of a dickish thing to say.
Yep. Pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah. Not a good guy, I think, by most accounts. Good drummer, not a good human. So you might have heard this story or know about it, but the last words here is, quote, "Oh, I'm the problem," unquote.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's a little
That's
bit
good one.
obscure. But this, I think, is the this guy's name is David Burke, and this guy stormed a U.S. Air flight 1771 in December of 1987, and someone got a gun on the flight, and I don't know what the context was or necessarily who he was speaking to. He winds up killing both the pilots and himself, and the plane crashes and everyone dies. But he has this realization where apparently where someone's trying to talk him down, like, yeah, dude, you're losing your mind. He goes, oh, I'm the problem. Oh, he had this, come to Jesus moment, where he realized he was the bad guy. So, and that story is a story I'm probably going to tell down the road.
Please do, because I'd never heard that one. Just that moment of, could it be that I'm the asshole?
Right. It's like that. What's that movie with Michael Douglas where he's shooting up the city, shooting up LA, falling down. He goes, wait, he says, wait, I'm the bad guy. Yeah. So this one also you may have read, but I won't even try to make you guess. Richard B. Mellon and his brother Andrew played a game of tag.
Yeah, I know this one.
Yeah, lasted 7 decades.
Yes.
And on his deathbed, Richard's last words to his brother were,
last
quote,
tag.
Quote, last tag. Which I think is friggin' brilliant. And then the brother, it says the brother remained it until he died 4 years later.
I can't pass this on to anybody. Nobody will play with me.
Played a game of tag for 7 decades. Oh my God. Anyway, it just seemed like I'd come across a few of those that I was saving and didn't want them to get too, I don't know, stale or something.
No, that's good. That's good. Bryan takes the reins with Ultima Verba and turns the tables on Morris.
Yeah, so we'll have to call it Ultima Reversa or Verba Ultima or something else.
You turn the tables on me, Bryan, and for that I will neither forgive nor forget.
Oh, I know. Yeah, we've met.
And as the chef's kiss, do you have a curse word of the week for us?
It's time for the Dream Idiot's curse word of the week.
I do. So this is a style of cinema called sharksploitation. The word is sharksploitation. It's actually in Urban Dictionary. So you are, I know, every July 4th, you do what?
Every July 4th, I stand at attention for 23 and a half hours. No, I always watch Jaws if I can. I always get a viewing of Jaws in because it's one of my favorite films.
Right. So Peter Benchley, the writer, apparently since Jaws, he regrets the fact that Jaws really just, I don't know, demonized sharks. I read this can't be right. I think I read like 170 million sharks die every year just because they're caught in other traps, and whatever, right? It's just insane because people are now terrified of them, and he thinks he created this genre of sharksploitation cinema because of course there's now been Sharknado 1, 2, and 3, and now there's Jason Statham is in some mega shark, whatever, something or other stupid ass movie that's out right now. And Benchley would like everyone to forget he ever made, well, at least forget the part where people are now just terrified of sharks because shark attacks are incredibly infrequent. But nevertheless, there is now this genre of cinema because of his work, sharksploitation.
Well, Bryan, what you need to remember is that Amity here, we're a summer town. We rely on summer dollars. And you say barracuda, people say, what? You say shark. You got to panic on the 4th of July. Sharksploitation. I've not seen any of the Sharknado movies. I'll put them on my to-do list.
My understanding is that they are absolutely dreadful.
Well, I've sat through, as we know, I've sat through or not sat through really bad movies before. So
right. Well,
we shall see what happens. As promised from last week, here is Return of F.O.A.F., Bryan, Friends of Friends stories. We talked about urban legends last week and the work of Jan Harold Brunvand. the authority on urban legends and urban folklore. So what I'm going to do this week is I'm going to talk about 3 urban legends I've heard growing up, where I heard them from, and maybe we can talk about what they mean if you are so inclined.
Mm-hmm.
Let's call this first one the shy roommate. I heard this first story my very first year in college, 1990, from a fellow who lived down the hall from me in good old Wynn Hall, Trinity University. I'll call him D. D hailed from the American Southwest. He recounted this story as I was one of the few guys in the hall that had his car there at Trinity. So I was the guy everybody hit up for.
You were the cab, right?
Good. Yeah. So we were out on the town one day, and he told me this story. He said he had heard it from a friend who attended college out east. And given that he was from the Southwest and he was going to school at Trinity, I mean, out east could be anywhere, but I'm assuming he meant the East Coast. And I think there was like a cousin's girlfriend or a friend of his cousin's girlfriend or something like that was involved in this chain of retelling. And just let me know at what point you recognize this story.
Oh, I already know the story. Go ahead.
The story involves a pair of female college roommates. In this case, they're sharing a dorm room. And in this version I heard, the roommates get along okay, but one likes to party just a bit more than the other one, to the point where the ladies have to rely on the tried and true college system of leaving a marker on the door when one roommate has a guest over for the evening. In this case, let's say it's a scrunchie on the doorknob, for example. You got a scrunchie on the doorknob, you don't come in. The shy roommate returns to the dorm one night to find the door scrunchie free and enters the room. Yet when she's inside, she hears moaning and gasping coming from her roommate's side of the room. Rather than cause a scene and flip on the lights, she quietly gets ready for bed in the dark. She slips into bed and eventually falls asleep, despite the rustling and moaning just a few feet from her. The next morning, as sunlight filters through the blinds, she sees a grisly horror show across the room. Her friend has been slaughtered in a most vicious manner. And there, written in blood on the dresser mirror, are the words, "Aren't you glad you didn't turn on the lights?" So you've heard this one before.
Yeah, I mean, 80% of it is it's exactly the same, right?
Okay, so when did you first hear it? Probably about the same time.
About the same time, yes. And there's another version of it that is similar, which I won't mention now because I think you might mention it here in a second. But yeah, so early college.
Okay, so versions of this go all the way back to 1871, Bryan.
Wow.
According to Brunvand, there's a variation of this called the licked hand. Is that what you're going for? The licked hand version?
No.
The licked hand version is basically the same thing kind of happens. There's some kind of commotion in the house, but it's okay because your dog kept me company all night and licked my hand. We don't have a dog.
Good, that one I hadn't heard.
So what was licking your hand? What was the tail end of your version that you said?
The verse in a speech communication class, and we're talking about it literally in a classroom, that the story was the college student goes home or goes back to the dorm room with some. Did I lose you?
No, I'm here.
Okay. Goes back to the dorm room with some girl who is making herself very available, whatever. He picked her up, taking home, and they have sex, whatever. He wakes up at some point, middle of the night or first thing in the morning, and is feeling pretty good about himself, feeling like he scored. He's super lucky. Wakes up, she's gone, but scrawled with her lipstick on the mirror is "Welcome to the world of AIDS."
That's called AIDS Mary or AIDS Harry if the genders are reversed.
Right,
Yeah,
right,
that's a variation of it. Yep. That's another one I heard. That's another one I heard about the same time.
Right.
Yep, that's another one. So what we've got here is we've got lessons of morality again, like we talked about last week, about sexuality, promiscuity. There's some gender norm things going on about women being careful, and there's also this home invasion thing going on because the dorm is the closest thing you'd have to a home when you're on your college campus, right? So the home invasion thing going on. This next one I heard sometime in the mid 1980s from a classmate, probably in the 7th or 8th grade. And you can chime in when you've heard this before, because you're probably going to recognize it in the first 2 sentences. A woman returns home after a day of shopping. She lives alone except for her Doberman Pinscher. The dog greets her, however, in a sorry state, coughing and wheezing as though trying not to choke on something. Distressed, the woman loads her beloved dog into her car and whisks him to the vet's clinic. Once there, the staff stabilize the dog, and given that it's right before closing, or because it's a protracted procedure or whatever, tell the woman that they'll develop some x-rays and call her later. You recognize this at all?
No, not
Okay.
yet.
She returns home and spends some time putting away her groceries and goes about her nightly routine, taking a shower and so forth. After getting dried off and into her PJs, she makes popcorn and settles in to watch late night TV. She notices that at some point during the evening, a message has appeared on her answering machine. That's how old this story is. It's from the vet's office, and it says, "Get out of your house now. Go to a neighbor's house. Call the police now." So she follows direction and calls the police from her neighbors, whereupon the police search her home. They find a broken window in an extra bedroom and blood splatters throughout the house, finally trailing off into a closet where they find a man with a mangled hand, wrapped in paper towels, or if you've told the story in a very detailed way, perhaps a towel that may have been missing from earlier in the story. The police then reveal that the vet's office informed them that the Doberman's choking fit had been caused by 3 human fingers lodged in the dog's throat. This is known as the classic choking Doberman story.
Okay, right.
So you familiar with it now?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Mhm.
So I recall as a kid in the 70s and into the 80s, I recall a Doberman panic. I remember being told by people that Dobermans are vicious dogs. Did you remember hearing this at all
Yeah.
when you were a
Yes,
kid?
absolutely. Right.
Okay. There were several movies of the time which featured Dobermans in the 70s and 80s. There was a series of children's films which had a pack of trained Dobermans who robbed banks called the Doberman Gang. This was like a crime comedy caper kind of movie. The films appeared in 1972, with sequels appearing in 73, 76, and 1980. I think I may have seen one of these at one point. Like in the first movie, all of the dogs are named after, like, one was called Dillinger, there was a Bonnie and Clyde pair. They were all named after famous bank robbers. But there's a darker version of Doberman behavior. And this was on display in a 1973 ABC Movie of the Week titled Trapped, starring James Brolin, which may have been a premonition for his future marriage to Barbra Streisand. This film, it finds a mugging victim. I'm just kidding. Just kidding, Babs. I'm just kidding. This film finds a mugging victim played by Brolin who's left unconscious in a department store bathroom until after closing time. This department store is patrolled by a trio of highly trained, vicious Dobermans who spend the evening chasing Brolin through the multi-level building. And I remember seeing this in a rerun sometime in the mid-70s, like on The Late Show one night. Bryan, I've got to tell you, this movie rocks.
It sounds like it's basically snakes on a plane, only it's Dobermans and a Dillards.
It is so cool. It features 70s decor, 70s fashion, smoking indoors. There's a scene with archery and it's got Dobermans in it. You can find it online. Check it out. It's called Trapped. It's also known as Doberman Squad or Doberman's Attack or something like that, if you catch the British version of it. But it's much in the way that Stephen King's 1981 novel Cujo and the subsequent 83 film of the same name shaped public perception of the St. Bernard breed, because I remember hearing stories of St. Bernards turning on kids and falling asleep on top of kids and smothering them and all kinds of stuff. So I'm wondering if perhaps these representations of the Doberman crept into the zeitgeist, combined with the urban legend of the choking Doberman. It's no wonder that I grew up thinking what I did about that particular breed, that they're vicious attack dogs. A study encompassing the years 2005-2017 shows that Dobermans were responsible for 6 fatal attacks on humans during that 13-year time span, a mere 1.4% of the total. Bryan, they were behind such family-friendly breeds as the Boxer, the Husky, and the Labrador Retriever.
Right.
So, traced back to 1981, this legend has obviously changed a bit with the advent of cell technology. You can whip cell phones into this now. You can really dress it up with modern accoutrements. And there's often a racist twist in there. I've read versions of it that include the fingers are described as being black or Hispanic, which I've seen in various versions of this.
Well, yeah, because everything's about races. Right.
Yeah. I believe it's an Eli Roth produced, I want to say it's an Eli Roth produced show, but there's a show called Urban Legends, and I want to say it's on the Discovery Channel, and they do a really pretty good like episode based around this that's kind of updated, that uses cell phones and stuff. But again, we have this idea of insecurity, that there's a home invasion going on. There are versions going back to the faithful dog attacking someone in your house. This goes actually back centuries as well. This
Wow.
idea of the connection between dogs and humans and the paranoia of the home invasion. I cannot tell you specifically who told me this story, but I do know I heard it from a classmate in middle school. Finally, I heard this next one sometime in my late high school years from an older friend who heard it from his sister, who had heard it from her friend, who said it happened to yet another friend. So a true F.O.A.F., friend of a friend story.
Right.
So there was a young woman living in her first apartment somewhere, quote, again, out east. She gets a visit from a friend who made a trip to a Texas-Mexico border town. It may have been Piedras Negras or Ciudad Acuña or Nuevo Laredo, anywhere along the Texas border. This friend presents her with a magnificent saguaro cactus as a housewarming gift. Is this sounding familiar?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. The cactus is a couple of feet tall, and it's a wonder that her friend was able to sneak it through customs as she drove through the border crossing. The cactus sits near a large window where it catches the sun and is quite the conversation piece for her get-togethers. Everyone compliments her on it, and it's most certainly the focal point of her apartment. One day, while house cleaning, she notices something odd. The cactus seems to be shifting left to right slightly, as though someone is scooting it over and back just an eighth of an inch either direction. A couple of days pass, and the slight motion is almost visible, as if the cactus is vibrating. She calls a local nursery. The employee on the line asks her to describe the plant, and she does so. She recounts how she came into ownership of the plant, and she's completely honest. There's silence on the other end. It's vibrating faster, the young woman says. Maybe it's the heat of the sun. Finally, the employee says, it's not. Get people and pets out of the apartment now. Get away from the cactus. Terrified, the woman rushes out, slams the door behind her, and turns to the corner to peek back in through the window. Just then, the cactus explodes, and hundreds of tarantulas burst forth and swarm the furniture, floors, and walls. This is known as the exploding cactus story.
Yes.
Have you heard this one, Bryan?
Many, many times. Yes.
Yes.
I mean, I've told that one. I've told that one not really thinking it was a real story, because I knew it was. But yeah, people definitely believe that story.
Well, Bryan, I first heard this urban legend from you, you bastard. I learned it from you. I learned it from you by watching you, man. You told me this urban legend. You were a big time college guy, and I was still a high school student, and you taught me that one. I heard that urban legend from you. Brunvon traces this one back to Kalamazoo, Michigan in 1989. And that's as far back as his studies went. But what are some of the details about the story? I mean, you can pick out what doesn't make it plausible, but it's someone who's clearly not familiar with cactuses. You've got to take it out of Texas, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, the critical components of that story is it has to have originated outside of the country, because obviously, because that makes it suspicious. It's suspect then. And part of that makes it also subtly racist, obviously, as well.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't recall if the story was tarantulas or scorpions, but you're telling it is exactly as I remember hearing it, and then of course I'm sure I repeated it 50 times, in 1990.
Yep, that's about when I heard it. Which would have been my senior year in high school. So, there's this fear of contamination. There's this idea of infestation.
Right.
And then, of course, you already mentioned the foreign fear, right? So I'm really surprised that, although I don't pay attention to much of this in the circles, that we haven't seen this story start to circulate again with all of the talk about
all the
invasions from the South and the building of the
obviously.
wall and all that stuff.
Right.
So that kind of gets back to what Brunvon was talking about when he was talking about how urban legends were primarily a white phenomena, an Anglo-American phenomena, because that's what that is. It's talking about fear from within. It's the same kind of storytelling we would use in the 50s in science fiction films when you would talk about communism is a contamination, an infestation from within,
Right.
like an invasion of the body snatchers, right? It's the same kind of thing, just with a racist tinge instead of a political tinge. And in this case, it's the poor cactus that bears the brunt of it. In some versions, the cactus is actually doused in gasoline, so not only do you have an exploding cactus, but it's on
they're
fire.
on fire as well,
and
right?
the spider's on fire jumping out of this cactus. But all of those are ones that I more or less fell for at some time or another in my life. You told me that you had heard it from your sister, who heard it from a friend.
Oh, okay. It could,
So
could well be.
That's how you. So I don't know if your sister told you that she heard it from someone, or what that chain was, or if you were just being a gherkin jerker and bullshitting me.
Right.
Sources for this piece were two of Bryn Vaughn's books. His 1981 Vanishing Hitchhiker, American Urban Legends and Their Meanings. His 1999 book, Too Good to Be True, The Colossal Book of Urban Legends, both from W.W. Norton of New York. DobermanPlanet.com for my stats on Doberman attacks. Snopes.com for the shy roommate story, the Aren't You Glad You Didn't Turn on the Light story. And Wikipedia for some of the choking Doberman information on the Trapped movie starring James Brolin and the Doberman Gang movies, which I'm tempted to track down as well. But I have actually within the last like 5 or 6 years, I did rewatch Trapped, and dude, it holds up. If you want to watch a movie about a guy trapped in a 1970s department store, it's the kind of department store that had like, a crappy little restaurant in there that you could sit down and eat, like
right. Classy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, so I mean, couple thoughts. I definitely to this day still have an aversion to Dobermans. So I wonder if that's the origin of that. Could well be, I guess. The other sort of similar, the dog urban legend. As you know, I have over the years adopted 3 or 4 pit bulls, and I can't tell you how many folks said to me, "Are you sure that they're not safe? You know that they have locking jaws, right?" I'm like, no, they don't. That's not a thing. Google locking jaws. That's not a thing. That's horseshit. Don't believe that.
Pit bulls are not born with tetanus. They do not.
right. So don't believe that. And then the other one that's sort of similar to one of the ones you told. I remember hearing, while a college student, again, it's always back east. I remember being probably in Win second and hearing the story about the college freshman who goes to his dorm for the first time, but isn't feeling good, can't quite figure out why he feels sort of sluggish, goes to the doctor, finds out he has high levels of chloroform in his system, and then depending which version of the story you want to tell, it's either 30 seconds long or it's 10 minutes long. But the short version is his roommate is chloroforming him and raping him while he's knocked out. Like, I mean, none of these stories. I'm a very cynical person at heart. I don't really believe any of these stories. Not even the one about the tarantulas, even though I apparently got people to buy into it. Sorry.
No, you're not. You are not sorry. No, and he has a whole subdivision on in his books, at least in his Colossal book, he has a whole subdivision on college tales. I mean, there's other ones that have to do with college sex pranks gone wrong and
brat
college
pledging. I'm sure it has
all kinds of stuff that's on there. The 4.0 GPA story, if your roommate dies, kind of stuff. And then there's even like, well, if your professor isn't there the first 5 minutes, you can leave the class, kind of things that are not necessarily true. They're kind of urban legends on campuses.
Right.
So yeah, the world is rife with them. And, sometimes we want to make sense and make patterns and tell stories where there is no story to tell. Sometimes it just, we have to tell them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the other story that I literally, and hopefully it's okay if I mention this. I mentioned it to you beforehand, right before we started recording, because of the weird ways that Google works. I was watching something, doom scrolling, and saw a video link of a comedian going on and on about the urban legend, in his mind, urban legend that is cow tipping. I remember hearing tons of stories about cow tipping, but at least in this comedian's estimation, cow tipping is an urban legend. It can't be done. It has never been done. There is no video of it being done anywhere at any time. Google it. You can't find it. You can't find video of it. Like if that's true, that was just ingrained into. It's in movies. I mean, it's in Animal House, I think, isn't it? And that'd be fairly impressive if no one has ever actually knocked over a sleeping cow before. It's all just been fiction.
I mean, I've heard of it, and because we lived where we lived, we were close enough and had friends who went to high schools that were more
more rural and right.
Yeah, rural high schools, and I had friends and relatives who went to high schools that were out in the country.
Right.
I never really thought about it before. I always assumed it was a real thing, but I'd never participated in it. And
right.
now that I think about it,
right.
I've never known anyone who's actually participated in it.
Heard lots of tall tales, though.
Maybe we should look into this, Bryan. Maybe this is a future story worth telling. Maybe anybody out there listening actually
right.
done any cow tipping?
Have you ever? Yeah. If you're listening to this and you have personally or have video of a cow being tipped, send it in, and we will somehow figure out a way to use it.
We are not condoning cow tipping.
I am.
We are not encouraging cow tipping. Are you now, or have you ever been a cow tipper? All right. Well, there we go. Ultima Verba Part 4 with Bryan turning the tables and another round of urban legends and another episode of Dream Idiots in the books.
Yeah, that's good stuff. So genuinely, your homework assignment: cow tipping stories and songs that have been turned into movies. So now you have twice as much homework.
People are like, God damn, this podcast is a lot of work. What the hell?
Right.
You guys suck.
Unsubscribe.
Don't unsubscribe, please. All right, we'll get back to serious, shit next time, I guess. Anyway,
maybe.
All
right. Yep. Thanks for listening, folks. Please, if you can, go on whatever platform you're on and shoot us 5 stars. Shoot us a review. That would be great. Like and share and subscribe. We'd appreciate it. Go to dreamidiots.com. Check us out on Facebook, Instagram. Drop us a line at dreamidiotspodcast at Gmail. If you email, I'm the one who checks that email address, but I will give you Morris's email address. I don't care who you are.
Please don't.
And thanks for doing all that good stuff for us. We appreciate it.
Yes, indeedly. And as always, be good to each other.
This is a Rough Tiger production.
Bong bong, Bryan.
Bong bong?
Bong bong.
Bong bong. Good.